and thank you for attending our first PacPrint exhibition briefing. I'm Sue Threlfo, for anyone I don't know, from Conica Minolta, and I'm the chairperson for the PacPrint board, which is a great honour in this exciting year. It's fabulous to be here today discussing what may well be the first industry exhibition, and certainly the first one that we will be able to attend in person, unless maybe you've been to some of the bridal expos and things that have been on already. Today's briefing is intended to give you an update on our planning for the event, which kicks off on the 28th of September. I'm pleased to say the planning is well advanced, and I know a number of you have already signed up and committed to be there. I know we have. We'll share some positive insights today and information about how we can hold an event in the current COVID environment, although we do expect to be in an even better position as we get closer to our date. We'll also connect you today with some of the people who will be able to help you get the maximum value from your exhibition experience. So just a little housekeeping to start with. If you could please mute your speakers for anyone that hasn't. You'll see the little chat function at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you have questions, please submit them using the chat option, and we'll endeavour to answer questions for each speaker as we go. If time allows, we'll open up for any further questions at the end of the session. And we can also respond to any after the session by email. And can I ask that all speakers be mindful of the time? There's a lot of people to get through today, all very important. So we've allowed about a 7-minute time limit for each. So once again, thank you for making the time to join us today. And we look forward to working with you as we plan together for the industry's leading event. I'll hand over now to the CEO of Visual Connections, who you all know, Peter Harper.
Hi everyone, thanks for giving up your time to come and join us today. I'll just take a few minutes to touch on a couple of topics. Just before I do, I'll have to tell my people in the next room to mute their... Good, okay. Firstly, by now you would have seen that Visual Connections and PVCA have formed a joint venture called the Visual Industries Events. This will see the Visual Connections events team take over the running of all events now. So as well as the trade shows, they will also oversee the state and national print awards and the print to Parliament. Secondly, you will also have noticed recently we've been running a survey in most of the media trying to get a feeling of how the industry feels about coming back to trade shows. We've simply just asked them to, if they intend to come to PacPrint in September 2021. So they just had to tick a box, yes, no, or maybe, and what state they were from. So the results so far have been that 70% of the people surveyed have said yes, they will attend, 18% said maybe, and 12% said no. The states that these votes came from were 38% from Victoria, 31% from New South Wales, 13% from Queensland, 7% from South Australia, 5% from WA, and 3% from Tasmania. These are very positive results, and people are champing at the bit to get back to trade shows and networking events. Lastly, we've been asked by many exhibitors or potential exhibitors what happens if by the remote chance the trade show is cancelled or postponed due to COVID. Well, I personally believe that PacPrint co-locating with Visual Impact shows and Label and Packaging Expo will go ahead no matter what. However, in the unlikelihood that it is cancelled because of the COVID, we can assure everyone that their monies that they have paid for their booking, their space, will be refunded. In addition, if you have applied for and get accepted to the federal event grant, and by the way, if you haven't done so already, you really need to get it done without delay. But if accepted, it's my understanding that any monies by the paid by the government to any exhibitor up to the date of the cancellation is non-refundable. So that means you'll get to keep your portion of that grant. I'm sure that Katerina from Export Solutions can elaborate further on this in her presentation in a little while. So that's about it for me. So I look forward to seeing you all at PacPrint. And for now, let me introduce you to Katerina from Export Solutions, who we have been working with to get all exhibitors across the line with when applying for the event grant. So thanks very much. Bye.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me to come and talk about this events grants with you. So the government has announced that they are supporting the events industry by giving this grant. It's about 120 pre-approved events, PacPrint being one of them. So there's a lot of events that have been approved. So hence Peter's comment about if you haven't applied for this grant yet, would very much recommend you to do so as soon as possible. It's a $50 million fund, but it will end at some point. So with this grant, you can get a maximum of $250,000 back from your expenses that you have. The government will support you with 50%. The minimum grant you can get is $10,000. So you need to have at least 20 or plan to spend at least $20,000 on an event or more events if you are going to apply. And to apply, it's quite a simple process, but we do need some information from you, such as an event plan, which discusses your proposed outcomes from the show, what you're hoping for, a budget that lists all the expenses that you're planning on having. If you already received quotes from suppliers, this is great to be included, but we do need the booking form. And then just if you're just estimating a cost, then just please list how you came to that figure. So if it's based on a previous show you've attended. Yeah, so if yes, as I said, timing is of an issue. So if you haven't applied, please do so as soon as possible. We have applications that went in the beginning of February that still haven't been assessed. So there's quite a lot of applicants that the government needs to go through. And as Peter said, if it is cancelled, the event is cancelled, or any event that you are applying for, the government will still honour that 50% of anything that you cannot get refunded. So, and yeah, so I work for Export Solutions, and so we will help you through this process if you feel that you need some help or you just don't have time to do it yourself. And Peter has sent out my contact details, but have them. And so if you need to give me a call or send me an email, please feel free to do so. That's it for me.
Thanks, Katerina. That's great. Thank you to Visual Connections for finding you, because part of the battle, I think, is actually for a lot of people is how to apply for grants. So I know that you're very experienced to help companies through that. I certainly know we at Konica Minolta are applying for the grant, so I encourage people to do it. I know some companies who have registered for the show already have received their grant. So I'm hoping that we'll be one of those in the near future. Next, I'd like to welcome Bob Carroll. Bob's the Managing Director of Australian Events. Australian Events operate 15 major consumer and trade events across Australia annually and have successfully delivered 11 major COVID-safe expos in Queensland during 2020 and 2021. So Bob's here to share with us the success of those events and tell you why COVID is really not a reason to miss out on the opportunity to be at an in-person industry expo. Thanks, Bob.
Hello, welcome. Look, I've got to say, timing's got a bit confused here on our work plate, so I do apologise for joining late. But look, really, for any exhibitors who are considering taking part, you've really got to understand that there are so many different opportunities that will come out of these events. What we certainly saw were patterns emerge from an organiser's perspective, where we had exhibitors not wanting to participate for a range of reasons. Bit short on funds, don't want to put myself at risk, don't want to put my staff at risk, have a fear of if someone in our team gets COVID, we'll shut down. There's a whole range of reasons that popped up, but a lot of it was around fear. And so we made suggestions, and this is something we did in our own workplace, in our own office. It was every morning, and we still do it. Every morning, everyone signs in, they get temperature checked. If there's any hint that they are unwell, or if they're coughing or don't look right, then we ask them more questions. Where have you been? What have you been doing? And in need, send them for a test. But you know, I encourage companies to take precautions in their own workplace and then extend that into anything they do as an exhibitor. The precautions you take as a consumer in your own communities, take that with you when you go as a visitor to these events. It's really no different. What we saw was a lot of fear, and we also saw at the same time a major shift in normal marketing processes. So on one hand, you were missing out because your media wasn't working, and people's buying habits were changing. What did not change was demand. Demand for product and demand for service. Service never goes away, so it doesn't really matter what sort of industry you're in. You know, that never changes. So never short up on your service, but make it really clear that people were certainly still demanding the product. Am I raving on? Hello, have I lost? Am I out?
No. Bob, I know you told me, this is Jenny speaking.
Yes,
I know you told me that the shows that you had put on, you know, as you said, attendance has been really good and it's been really positive. I noted, I saw actually on LinkedIn yesterday, the pregnancy and baby shows and the home show in Brisbane have been super successful.
Yep.
Increased attendance. And I guess you're feeling that flowing through to your shows, the positive vibe from both exhibitors and visitors.
Oh, absolutely. We staged an event in Brisbane weekend before last. It was probably, you know, the same event took place mid-February 2020, pre-COVID. It was already a good event. Our attendances this year in a COVID strategy were 20% up on last year. It was 40% better than any event or a similar event attendance-wise throughout the COVID period. So it was extremely buoyant. People who came with a passion. They wanted to buy, they wanted to spend, but they wanted information. You know, they'd been just starved of information, and they wanted to ask questions about product. Now, you know yourself as salespeople that if you get people asking questions, hello, the green light's on. And we saw plenty of that. People wanted to know information, what was happening with product, you know, all those things. So once you get people interacting, asking questions, it's a really good atmosphere for selling.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Well, sorry, go on.
I just wondered if anybody had any questions for Bob.
One thing I can say, you know, if you're going to exhibit in this event, you need to take all those measures with you that you do in your workplace. Just make sure you're consistent in what you're doing. That's all I can say, is that we had lots of companies who were trying to react and preempt things, predict what was going to happen or what could happen, or, you know, oh gee, you know, things could go wrong. They don't if you stick to the processes you've all put in place around COVID, and certainly do not neglect the ability to provide prompt service to people you're talking to face to face. It's really important that that consistency is there. There is no shortage of buyers, and there's no shortage of that enthusiasm. So I just encourage you to get excited about this PacPrint event. It's a really good event. You've got enormous opportunity. The other thing we saw was opportunity come from odd spaces. And Jenny, I was telling Jenny about this, one example where a client took part in this event. It was a lifestyle event, outdoor adventure, and he had a business that was about shop fitting. And he'd made all these different little lighting devices that enabled him to set up all sorts of scenarios in shop. And what he did was then adapt it to a lifestyle environment. And he was amazed at the opportunities that came his way just by adapting to change, but not completely turning his business on the head, but it was just looking out for opportunity. And it does come from sort of really unusual circumstances in this COVID period.
That's great, Bob. I think, you know, there are skeptics, there have been skeptics sort of before Christmas leading up to the end of the year with some of the things that were going on with COVID around the country. But I think we are getting a confidence in our management of COVID anyway, but then also to know that there've been many successful events run. And then from a board perspective, it's certainly utmost on our list of priorities, you know, and the additional cleaning, etc., that will be carried out during the show. So hopefully that will give everybody some comfort.
You've got a very good venue, and they're switched on. They know what they're doing. I think the government spent a lot of time in every state. I guess we were luckier in Queensland that they were on the front foot with it. Plus, we didn't have as many outbreaks, or they were a little bit tougher in the early part of it. But all I keep going back and harping on, it sounds like a broken record, is that, you know, put these procedures in place in your own sales environment or your own office, and take that with you where you go to an event. And that way you're not sort of trying to get a handle on, oh, gee, what are we going to do here? Or it's all different. Oh, how can I cope? You know, if you do those procedures and keep them in a standard and be consistent with them, that's really important. But the other thing that's really important is to make sure you explore every part of your business and present all of it and have it all there. So any odd sort of inquiry or thing that comes to your left of field, that you're able to cope with it and get the information to people promptly. Because one thing that's happened in COVID is people have relied on electronic communication, they've relied on dealing by phones and all these sorts of things. So they want the information, they want it quick, and they want the answers. So be prepared.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad we're in your hands. Thanks, Bob. And I'm glad you mentioned the venue, because the next person we're going to hear from is Sharon Friedman, who's the safety manager from the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre. And our events team have been working really closely with Sharon and the team at MCEC. And now just want to take you through how they've been handling events through COVID, and how they're going to help us ensure the success of our event as well. Thanks, Sharon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Friedman, and I'm the safety manager. Like they said, I just wanted to start by telling you how excited we are at MCEC to welcome you all back to our venue and to welcome events in general back into our venue. And I just wanted to share a little bit of what we're doing as a venue in the COVID world. So we've been working really, really hard over the last 6 months with DHHS and trying to get the best resolutions to all the issues and trying to get as many occupancy back as we can. At the moment, we're sitting with them on 75% occupancy, up to 75%, and up to 5,000 people a day. And that's a huge achievement, and I think the best occupancy in Australia. A few things that we're doing as a venue that I wanted to share. We have a team that's mostly built from my team, the health and safety team, with planning, operations manager, and food and beverage all sit together under my team. And we are called the Venue Safe Advisors. And we are here to assist all of you in anything COVID related during these times and how to do the events. Another thing that we've done, we're a big public venue, and we've actually shut our doors to the public, and we're only allowing people who are accessing an event. So that's very important when you go out to the delegates, to say that we will be asking for a lanyard, a ticket, an email, some kind of proof that they are actually attending an event. It's much easier for trade events because they will all have some kind of lanyard and some kind of proof, but it's very important to work with the exhibitors and with the attendees. At every entry, we have temperature checks, and we went and implemented and put together kind of an airport screening walk-through doors that do temperature checking. So it's not a handheld, each person being temperature checked. So we can get a flow of about 10, 15 people every minute. So we actually had 2 weeks ago a Melbourne Symphony Orchestra event, and we had 1,500 one day and close to 2,000 people the other day. And we got them in less than half an hour. We have very little queues. One of the most important things for DHHS and the management of COVID is that we have proper QR QR tracing. So they're very, very big on traceability and being able to know exactly who was there at what times, and to be able to trace should there be an outbreak. So we have now implemented a QR code that you scan it and it goes directly to DHHS. So we are out of the picture and they get directly all the information. So that takes a lot of pressure off us and off you guys. Whether we need some more tracing inside or not, we're just waiting to hear back from them. One thing that's very important to them, and when you built the exhibition itself, is that they want to see one-way traffic. So to prevent the crossover between people are entering one door, going through the venue, and exiting the other door. So that's very, very important to them. And the last thing is that COVID marshals, having marshals, whether it's volunteers, whether it's our staff or your staff, just having people monitoring and just tapping people on the shoulder saying, put on a mask if masks will be needed at that time. And we know that masks are in and out on a regular basis. And if people are clustering too many at one point, just separating them. If there's too many people at your stand, just have a queuing system and ask people to, or maybe go out to some of the people and have some of the people attend your stand. Just work around it and think of all the possibilities and everything that could be done just to prevent that. I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Or any comments or anything?
We had one question, if you could answer. What happens to a show if a COVID case is detected during the event? Do you have plans around that as part of the venue?
Yes, we do. We have a plan. So if we have someone who is, look, if there's a COVID outbreak, we will know it only a few days later. If there's a suspected outbreak, and it's important to understand it's only suspected if someone is showing symptoms, feeling unwell, they will be isolated straight away. They will be asked to leave the show. We will notify DHHS and the government, and we have an isolation room. We will take them to the isolation room. We will temperature check them. We will see if they fit the criteria. And if they are, we would ask them to go and straight away get tested. And if they are positive, then DHHS will take over and probably contact everyone and let them know what the next steps should be.
Great, thank you.
Pretty thorough. Any other questions just from the exhibitors for either Bob or Sharon?
I just wanted to add that if someone presents any symptoms at the entry, it is they will be taken aside, temperature checked again manually, just to make sure that there's no mistake, and then put into isolation. It's September, so it's less likely to be a 40-degree day. But if maybe they were rushing, maybe they were just running, and we will temperature check them again in 10 minutes. If they're still displaying temperature above 37.5, then they will not be permitted entry. We have conditions of entry, and showing any symptoms would prevent someone from entering the venue.
Sharon, I have a question. What about during bump-in, when contractors and exhibitors are bumping in through the back dock?
So we have the same process at the entry gates to the loading dock. So our logistics team will set up outside the loading dock, and they will temperature check and QR code anyone coming in. So anyone, again, showing any symptoms would not be allowed. We're asking all the contractors to provide us through our contractor management system their COVID safe plans, and each and every one of the contractors themselves will have to do an infection control training and provide us with a certificate in order to work in our venue.
Right. Okay, thank you.
5,000 people per day that you were getting through. That's really great to hear that.
Yeah, well, we're hoping. We're still waiting to get a final confirmation from DHHS, but that'll be really awesome.
We do have another question here too. So will there be some sort of lanyard to make sure we don't have to be checked every single time we walk in?
I can answer that for you. At the moment, we're liaising with our registration company because that is going actually into the hall. We believe at this stage we'll need to keep count of how many are in the hall at any given time. So we're working on that. There's a couple of options, whether it be a scanning system, but we're looking into the best way to manage that, keeping in mind that as the further we get down the track, and with vaccinations rolling out, it could be a very different picture by the time we get to the end of September. So we'll keep you informed about all of that as we go forward.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's feeling we're still 7 months away. So, you know, and with things changing the way they are at the moment, hopefully we will be in an even better shape.
Yeah.
There is another one here.
Yeah.
What about the requirements for transport agencies interstate who are not regular contractors?
We do have, we do have Benjamin Wilson from Agility in the Zoom here. And Benjamin, you might want to answer that.
Yeah, no.
We're just looking for you.
Oh,
there he is there.
Yeah,
would you have a response for that question?
I think he's frozen.
Oh, he's frozen.
He's frozen.
It sounds like he's frozen. I can take that if you want. Agility and all the major freight forwarders are on our contractor management system, and they are accredited to work in our venue. So they will be going through this process, and they will be accredited, and they will be approved to come on site. I don't think there is any international one that we don't work with, or interstate one that we don't work with. So we shouldn't have any problems with that.
Okay.
Thank you. There'll be more questions as we go along over the time, but thanks for that, Sharon.
No worries.
So once you've decided to exhibit at PacPrint, you're going to want to promote your involvement to your customers and potential customers, which we're already planning to do at Contractor Minolta. Robin Frampton from Visual Connections has been involved in the PR for PacPrint and Printex for many years and has a huge wealth of knowledge, not only about these exhibitions, but across our whole industry. Robin's going to now talk to us about the PR and marketing plans for the exhibition and how she can help you with your own PR for the show as an exhibitor as well. You will have already seen the branding that has gone out for this year's PacPrint, which has been the work of Robin, and we were very, very happy with. So over to you, Robin.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear all these things coming together. And yeah, I have been involved with PacPrint, PrintX and Visual Impact and the other expos for many years, and with the industry for many, many years. And we are in a very fortunate position to be able to run something like this, possibly the first expo that's going to happen anywhere in the world for a couple of years for our industry. So subject to what happens with some of the others. So we're in a really good position, and we want to make sure that we convey that confidence and convey that excitement to the visitors who you will want to come and visit your stands. We have an excellent relationship with the trade media here, the general print publications and media outlets, Print21, Australian Printer, ProPrint, The Sprinter, Online News, New Zealand Printer, Visual Impact and Digital Image magazines, textile magazines, Label and Packaging News, Labels Plus, PKN Packaging News, and all the others that you can think of. So the first thing to tell you is that we are going to be running a campaign of information that will be promoting the show generally, and will also be promoting your involvement. The thing which I say every single time and remains true to this day is that we can only promote what we know about. So the biggest takeaway that I would like you to take from this meeting is to share your plans with us. We will push that out through all our channels, and we will include that in the general promotions that we do for the show. If you don't tell us what you're doing though, we can't include it. So send us your media releases and news. If you need a hand putting something together, if you want to put together a story on what you'll be doing, what you'll be showing, what your theme is and what the highlights will be, and you don't have the wherewithal to pull that together, my contact information will be in the information sent to you. Give me a call. I'm more than happy to help you pull that together. So don't sit back and say, oh, it's too hard. It's not that hard. We'll get it done. So make sure that you contact me. We have a range of social media channels now, which we perhaps didn't have 10 or 15 years ago, and that provides us with an extra voice. So I would encourage you all to get on the social channels that you're active on. We are active on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and we're also establishing an Instagram presence. So there are you'll find us pretty easily, but we can forward the details of those channels to you. I would encourage you to follow both PacPrint and Visual Connections on those channels. We have a LinkedIn page for Visual Connections. We have Twitter accounts for PacPrint and Visual Connections, Facebook for both as well. So encourage you to follow those feeds, make sure that you share the information. And again, we'll be pushing out information from exhibitors. So the more you share with us, the more that we can promote. We have a couple of hashtags, hashtag PacPrint, unsurprisingly, and also another one, hashtag Print Expo Oz, AUS. So those are tags that we use that will help people search and find the information about the show. So like, share, repost, follow, and make the most of those channels. You can push out content that you don't have to create by utilising what we're pushing out. So make good use of that. We'll also be creating some video content. If you would like to do a short little piece to camera saying, come and see us at the show, or this is what we'll be doing, or come and see the world debut of the XYZ, then send those through to me just in an MP4 file, probably less than a minute in length, but a little statement to camera goes a long way. It gets a lot of engagement, and we're happy to push those out on our channels as well. As I said, my contact details will be in the notes you get from this meeting. So if you have any questions, if you would like to share some news with us, or if you need a hand putting anything together, give me a call or drop me an email, and I'll be more than happy to help.
Thanks, Robin. I mean, that's such a great offer. I think really, you know, Robin offering to assist with those areas of marketing and PR for organisations shows how important really the small companies are to this exhibition. It isn't just about the big ones who are at the front. It's about having a diverse range of organisations in the printing industry that will draw the crowd. So please take her up on her offer and get your video clip in, even if you're a small company. It's probably even more important.
Often we see that the smaller companies, that's one of the benefits to visitors from an expo, and we hear this feedback all the time, is that people come along to an expo and they might have an idea, as you say, of the bigger companies, but the discoveries that often are game changers for them are the things that they come to the exhibition and they're not looking for, but they discover in the course of walking around the event. This is your opportunity. There are people who are coming to the event to see someone else who might well come and visit you if they know that you're there and they see that you've got something to offer. So don't miss the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and then they're looking for new ideas, and they have access to the large companies like Honeycomb and Alter and HP, and whereas these organisations are people they just may not know exist. So yeah, very important. So I'm sure you all know Jenny. Jenny's been talking to us today. Jenny's the event manager at Visual Connections, and she's going to talk to us and introduce us to the contractors who are available for the event.
Thanks, Sue. Just briefly, we just want to let you know who the contractors are, our main contractors. They're not presenting today. Most of you have dealt with these companies in the past. But we've got Charlie Blades from ExpoNet, our account manager, and Charlie's done our print shows now for a few years and is very switched on and is extremely helpful. So any issues that you have, or questions or quotes required or anything, you can certainly contact Charlie and she'll be more than willing to help. Then we've got, we'll jump to rigging, is Get Rigged, Dave Crowson at Get Rigged, which I'm sure many of you have met and dealt with Dave before. He's actually working at a show in South Australia at the moment, so couldn't be with us, but good for him that he's getting back into it and business is picking up for him. Registration company, as I said before, Info Salons are doing the registration again this year. And we're working closely with them, particularly, you know, from the contact tracing aspect of registration. And Chris is actually on leave, so he couldn't be with us. Security and also cleaning is Mel Chen from Secure Event. And she's also at a show in Sydney, so based in Melbourne and come up to Sydney for a show. So that's good news to see our contractors starting to get back to work and doing what they enjoy doing. Lastly, I don't know if Benjamin Wilson from Agility has popped back in or unfrozen, but Benjamin can help with all your freight and logistics issues and questions and quotes. And in fact, I've got a link that I'll send out to everybody from Benjamin for the business events grant for quotes from Agility for your freight if you require that, but I'll shoot that out to everyone so they've got that contact. So they're our main event contractors. You know, we have other bits and bobs of contractors, plumbers, etc. But that will all come, information will all come through to you in the next month or so. So that's it from me with contractors.
Thanks. Any questions on contractors, or I should have asked for Robin as well on PR? And you can always go to the team at Visual Connections anytime. They're happy to answer your questions as we move forward. Thanks everybody. Thanks to our presenters for sharing what they're up to. We love getting together as an industry, and so many of us missed Drupa this year. We've missed having the opportunity to come together and share from a vendor perspective, to share our wares and meet with our customers and meet with our friends. There's many people on this call who are friends or who are competitors, or friendly competitors, in fact, probably. And, you know, it's just part of the whole experience. So I think it's up to us. So there's visual connections, the mechanism behind the board making decisions where need be, but it's really up to us all as vendors to promote this, enthuse the market, and you know, have something great to release if you can, or a good opportunity to exhibit. So really appreciate you all taking the time, and really can't wait to be with everybody in September in Melbourne. It will be a treat. So if there's no more questions, we'll wrap it up there for now.
That might be it. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. See you in Melbourne.
Thank you, Sharon.
Sharon.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, Stuart.
I know who's talking.
They pop up.
Okay. Morgan's still on.
Yeah.
Hi, team. Oh, well, it's good that we recorded it, because there were quite a few that didn't make it, I guess, but it can be shared.
Yes, that's right.
So let's hope we can start getting the word out. Oh, we didn't put the slide up with the